Hi friends and welcome. Doing something different tonight. I'm out in my front hallway, so I apologize if my husband comes. He's not here right now, so I took advantage of that, but he could show up potentially anytime, so I apologize if there's some noise. This is an 11 by 14 that I have toned in bright acrylic colors, and I'll show you over here what we're going to do. I brought in the old green chair, which I think that was my grandmother's chair. I painted it before, and I brought in a pot of flowers from outside. So that's our subject. I've got you back about as far as I can get you. Hopefully you can see everything pretty well. I'm raising you up a little bit. It's not perfect, and hopefully I don't get on camera. And it's not as light as I would like, but it's the best I can do. I've got the light above me on, the hall light on, and of course my subject is lit. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to spend some time sketching it on before we do anything else. And as of late, I've switched, and I've been using this more for my viewfinder. It's by EZL, and I've showed it to you before. It works kind of like a dry erase board. It comes with a marker actually that you can wipe off, but I like the size of it, so I've been using it more lately than my view catcher. All right, so I moved around the light. I got some shadows above it, which I feel like I like, and off to the side. So let's make some marks for where it hits at the top. It's going to pretty much, I don't want to get it so close to the edge or we cut it off with with a frame. But we'll adjust it if we need to. Sorry I haven't been on for a while. I've been really busy. Painted outside yesterday twice. I went out to paint this old house in the morning, and then I got a commission to paint a house on Main Street. So it was so nice last night, I thought, I'm going to go up and get this started. So that's what I did. I think approximately that's the outside dimensions of the chair. I think the seat's about there. And like I say, everything's subject to change. We got to get it right. So, and as you put this thing up and down, it's tricky to get it exactly where you had it. So you can make mistakes that way too. The seat of the chair isn't very... All right, so we'll just play around, see if we can get this sketched on. Oh, I'll show you something new I bought. I mentioned this, I think I mentioned it last time. A friend of mine bought one of these. It's actually a back scratcher from Amazon, and it telescopes out. He bought it for a mall stick, which, with even the panel, it catches the top of it pretty good. So even though I don't use a mall stick a lot, I took it with me last night, and like doing the window frames on the house, it was helpful. So I may be using it more. We've had some good storms today. The rain is nice. And I've got this chair set in an angle, so I'm holding out my brush like that to see. Because this part kind of goes uphill a little bit, because the reason I did it that way so I could see the back legs of the chair. So I can see the inside plane of the leg because the chair is the way it is. I was looking at a book I have on Van Gogh, of his paintings. I've never really copied any of his work. Maybe you have. I even thought about maybe that would be interesting. I like a lot of his work. I don't like all of his work. They did have a show here in Cincinnati a few years ago that a group of us went to see, and they had maybe 6 of his paintings. I did not like any of them. He did a lot of shoes and boots, which I love, but this particular group of paintings, I just didn't care for them. The poor man wasn't well, and these paintings, I felt like, I don't know, I felt like they exhibited that. There's a good book by him that I bought a few years ago, was recommended. It's an enormous book. I wonder if I have it right now. Hold on a second, I'm gonna see if I have the book. Let me look. Yeah, I must have loaned it out again. I've loaned it out several times and people return it because it's this huge, intimidating book and they just decide they don't want to read it. But it was interesting. You start out feeling very sorry for the man. He was young when they put him in a boarding school away from his family and so unhappy. But reading it, I come to believe he did not shoot himself. The reasons are, in my opinion, is he never owned a gun. Where he lived, the young teenage boys and stuff harassed the heck out of him and, made fun of him. And there was one of them that ran around like he thought he was a cowboy with a gun. My feeling is that he probably accidentally maybe shot him, because Van Gogh had been out painting. He came back without his gear, and they said to him, something like, "You've shot yourself," and he said, "Obviously I have." But I'm not convinced he did. I just think he didn't say that the boy did it. But I'm sure a lot of people do not agree with that. He was obsessed with painting, I will say that. I can tell already my drawing's off. So we'll have to decide. See, the way I've got it going here, the chair is too big. I can tell already because the seat would be here and I'm going to end up running the legs clear off. Do I want that? I don't want that. So there you go. We're going to start over because that's the right thing to do. I mean, I could have done it that way and I could have ran the legs off, but I don't think that's what I want. So there's a lesson there. You got to be willing to let it go and start over if that's the right thing to do. All right, let's get our view catcher back out and try this again, okay? The top of the chair is about there where I had it. Of course, it could be wherever I wanted it, but I think what I did is I think I just made it maybe too wide, you know, because the foot's going to be about there. All right. We'll get it. We just try again. Actually, the seat of the chair is hidden almost in the middle, which I think that mark is where I had it before, right? Yeah, I'm thinking what I did was I started just making it too big and the proportions weren't going to work. I think the seat ends back there. It goes back. Might be easier with a softer brush to do this sketch too. See, that's about as far over as the chair should go to fit it all on here. So you can see, I just started making it too wide. And again, I could have done that, and I've done that stuff in the past. I just make it work, you know, run the legs off. Yeah, I had a guy reach out to me about, wanted to know if I had any paintings of a couple different particular houses on Main Street. So he said a friend of his had bought one of mine and he loved it, and so I assumed, you know, he bought it from the gallery show that just ended because I had all those Mason paintings. And it's funny, I had sold one of his, they're rentals now, but I had sold one of his, they're Airbnbs, I had sold one of his houses in the show. Well, as things went along, I found out I did do their house, but I did it like 15 years ago. So funny. I feel like, you know, I'm hopefully a much better painter now than I was then. We hope we're growing, don't we? Just trying to look like where the back leg hits. And it's not very long, actually. I say hopefully my husband won't show up. He went to a retirement party for my husband was a wildlife officer, and that was his career. And this particular guy who's retiring actually got shot. He has continued to try to work, but he's finally retiring. Terrible. See how small this chair is? I mean, there's no way it was going to work the way I had it. And hopefully we like this, you know. But for the whole thing to fit, it can't be as wide as I had it. I don't know if I told you or not, of course, this show came down. I was in Savannah last week too, by the way. My daughter and I went to Savannah, just a mother-daughter trip, and I'd never been. We toured all kinds of historic homes. And we got back, it was gone Sunday to Thursday night, and my show, I had to get my show down when I came back in town, and I sold a total of 12 paintings. My goal was 10, so I'm real pleased with that. I think it's really successful. You know, another thing has come from when you do something like that. You know, I had one house commission already, and of course I've been out on the street painting while the show was going on, and I've sold a few of those. This is a begonia, kind of a peachy colored begonia. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me lay this down. Now I'm just kind of working one thing. I'm not really looking through the viewfinder anymore. I'm just seeing where things land compared to other things. Okay, that's there. Then this is to come out. Adjust and adjust, right? And that'll mean this leg probably has to come out too. Things that sometimes seem like simple subjects can end up being pretty complicated. Seeing where that pot hits in relation to the chair. My neighbors had a little scooter out there. I don't know if it's still in the back or not, like a little, kind of like a Hot Wheels thing. You remember those? And I did take some pictures of it, but you know, I think that would be cute to paint with the sunshine on it with some good shadows. I'm going to switch brushes here. This guy is so stiff. I'm going to switch to the one I plan to probably paint with to do a little bit of this sketch with too. Thin it down a little bit. All right, and we may, you know, go in with a little scraper and get rid of any gobs of dark paint we don't want. You know, and I obviously do not have the shape of these legs. I just kind of placed them. My mother-in-law was an artist. I've mentioned that before. One of my favorite paintings of hers actually was, I have it on the wall in there. It's a chair with, my husband had been hunting, so it's a gun and a chair and the hat and the coat, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah, this got moved back to here. And I probably can't really wipe that. Yeah, it's not gonna. Let me get a little water here. These are water mixable oils, so they're water cleanup. Though I don't generally put water in my painting. In my paint, I mean. This area is all kind of our flowers here. Oh, I know what that was. That was that shadow that I had in there. And I see it over here and here. And this chair is actually like in the corner. And then there's a big shadow of the flowers over here. And the chair. We'll decide how much of that we want. And then there's a, which may or may not help, that there's a shadow up here because of the way I have it lit. And the floor runs about, again, it's in the corner. Somewhere about in there. Still feels a little out of proportion to me. That's the pot here. We'll kind of block that in with some color. And I'm sure it's difficult for you to see exactly what I'm seeing. That's unusual. And there's a shadow going that way too. You know, I've got an overhead light and then the light that I've lit it with. So it's hard to say. Okay, I can tell what's off here. If this is where the back is, that seat should be way over here. So I've got to either pull the seat out or narrow the back. I'm going to try to pull the seat out, but that could be a mistake. I just want to try to work these things out before we start putting color on here. I've done that too much in my past, and then I end up adjusting the drawing with color, and I don't want to do that. So. You know, and I could dip the brush in water and use that to wipe off too. I have a friend that's painting, I think it's a plein air event. She's in Indiana, and she posted some pictures today, and she was sitting in her car, looking through her window, everything, pouring apparently. And she said, well, my easel's out there, and my painting shut down, she closed it into the easel. So I don't know how things fared for her. That's the thing, you never know. I'm glad I wasn't over there doing it, Now, does that feel out of whack? It's hard to tell. This shadow's throwing me off too. Maybe shouldn't even put that in yet, huh? It's kind of throwing me. Let's kind of wipe that out because it's just confusing me. One thing's basically where they are going to be. This has got some nice light here. All right, let's try to mix up something that looks about the color of this chair. It's an unusual green. I actually did put some phthalo on my palette this time. Kind of like one of the bowl jars that I love to paint, and I do use phthalo in them. So we're going to, I could try to tilt you down. I'm not sure you can see. Look at my messy easel. I'm a busy person though. This is phthalo. A very concentrated high pigment color. I'm going to put some yellow in it. We'll put some white in, which will cool it and lighten it. That's already not too bad. We'll pull some to the side and lighten it a bit more. I'm going to want some of it darker for the, I'm going to put more ultramarine in it. Like always, I'm making 3 values at least, so I have some options. I'm going even lighter there. I feel like I could use more paint. And then this is green, of course, so if you felt it was too intense, what would you do? You put the complement with red to gray it, right? Well, that'll get us started. I don't know how well you could see any of that because of the light. I can't really move you back any further. I got a step behind me, so I hope you can see the whole canvas and I'm not cutting you off. All right, we're going to hit the darks that we see. Yeah, I definitely could use more light on me. I don't know how to get any more light. I got the lamp on behind me. I got the hall light on. I'm going to try, hold on a second, to take a shade off this lamp that's behind me. I don't know, trying to brighten things up a little bit. for the darker areas. It doesn't look so dark, does it? This seat is very dark. Kind of the edge of that leg is fairly dark too, as is this one. I say I've done this chair another time, and similar. I think I had a pot of geraniums on it, and I sold it. Grandma's chair, I think I called it. I like chairs, I like shoes. Oh gosh, I went into an antique place in Savannah that I never saw so many antiques in my life, and I've antiqued a lot. One part of the upstairs was all chairs, all chairs. This is a place that I could use my new little mall stick, huh? You know, and I won't mind leaving my tone poke through. I had somebody say to me on one of the videos a while back that they wondered why I bothered to tone, because they didn't see it, you know, in the finished painting. You can see it. I mean, even in the video, if you think I've covered most of it up, if you could see the painting in person, you can see it. And I really like the way it looks. Shadow from our pot. So like always, I'm intermixing some of these colors that I made up, one with the other. Tell me if you've been to Savannah before. It was the third time for my daughter. She was my tour guide, which was nice. We stayed in the historic district, so we were right down by the river, and we felt safe pretty much. I mean, there are some homeless people. Sometimes they yell at you, and one guy kind of, I won't say chased us, but kind of. There was several of us walking, and he just kept walking with us, yelling at us, and yeah. That's the nice thing about living in the smaller area where I live. You know, there is not a big city, and we luckily don't have any homeless people, because I don't know where they would live here, you know. these piles to thin this down a little bit. You know, and this is one of those subjects you could decide how much or how little detail you want. You know, there's a crackle kind of finish on it if you felt you wanted that. You could just pick and pick and pick at it. Again, like I always say, I kind of just work instinctively, so I won't really know till I get further along how much detail I want. Top of this is catching some nice light. So the gallery owner was real pleased with the show too. I mean, that was a really good show for him too. One lady this is the house I painted yesterday. When I knocked on her door, I kind of told her who I was, and I just done the show up in town, and she said, "Oh, I didn't get up." She said, "Is it over?" I said, "Yeah, it's down now." And she said, "Will you do one again?" I said, "Well, it would be at least a couple years." You know, to have stuff to put in it, you know, I don't know when that would even be, but, you know, I just painted her house. She can buy it, right? She didn't buy it, so. But I left her my card. I never push anybody. And I don't want people to feel like when I show up, I'm going to push you to buy your house, you know. So I left my card and hope for the best. This light back here is very dark on this side. Down to about there. This plane is a little lighter. Doesn't look like a fun thing to paint if you never painted a chair. I think it's a fun subject. Bit of a shadow there from the plant, I think. And then this edge is darker. Because I'm kind of intermixing all these puddles, you know, I'm getting different shades of blue-green. I think I'm hearing thunder again. up this shape of this hole, you know, when we paint the background in. I know you can't see the rest of this, but you can't see it for the plant. Almost feel like that should be out a little more. All right, let's just mix up a green and we'll go in and block in all the leaves that I see. So we'll just take some ultramarine and Indian yellow, which makes a wonderful dark transparent green. And we'll just put in the darks where we see them. Yeah, it's not the best conditions for me either painting. It's a little dark. Let's see what this pot does. I wonder if I got it right. It's out here, kind of blocking the corner. You know, and I maybe have to adjust. I don't know if that feels like that's out a little far, but if we have to adjust it, we will. Putting a little yellow into this mixture. Trying to be impressionistic, so we're mostly just trying to get some greens in there. Trying to determine if I've been high enough. The pot is just a gray color, but again, you know, it could be whatever color I wanted. So what we'll do is go into that green and put some red in there. We'll make a gray. Now I look at it and decide, is it too warm? Is it too cool? I think it could be cooler, so I'm going to put some blue in it. You know, it could be any color we wanted. These are kind of peachy, the flowers, but they could be red, you know, the complement to the green. Darker on this side of the pot. You know, don't kill yourself mixing color unless it's real important to you. Think more about value. I'm warming it back up a little bit because warmer colors will pull toward you. So I'm warming it up in the front. You know, there could be a highlight on it. Do I see a highlight? Not really. I'd rather leave things more to the unfinished side. I can always come back and refine them. But I'd rather, you know, I'd rather do that than to take it too far. Again, the flowers are kind of a coral color. I'm going to try crimson and yellow. And again, I want some of it lighter, some of it darker. And I'm just going, right now, we're just going after the, we're just massing in the larger shapes, you know. We're not painting every little petal we see up there. And this may even be premature because they don't have the background painted in. We may have to redo some of them. That's okay though. I think it's much, I've said this over and over, but much more interesting if you don't explain every flower. You know, mass them in as a whole and then come back maybe and explain a few of them. And again, we got to paint the background in, and some of these are hanging like over there, so we're going to have to repaint them in. I'm lightening up, and I put a little cad red in it for the lighter ones. Light comes across and hits up here. You know, we might even use a palette knife before we're done. Left a little too much white there. That's enough information for now. All right. You know, we have lots of options on the back. We could go pretty dark. We could go on, let me bring this up. This feels a little low to me. I'm looking at this space here between those two things. I'm looking at that shape. Well, let's make a, I think a gray. We'll just use some of the stuff that's laying here, why not? Enough muddy colors, you got a gray. We're going to put the shadows in first. Let's see how things, let me look here. This baseboard runs back to about there. And it's fairly steep actually. hit about there, wasn't it? Yeah. All right. You know, I'm going to work with the shadows I have, and then we'll decide if we like them or not. Oh, I see what it's doing. Okay, now wait a minute. Okay, so let me get these right. So if this is our corner, what that shadow is doing is going into the corner and out of the corner. And across the top of the chair. And again, I don't know, in the end how this will look, but I can always take it out, or I can always blend into it. And then it kind of echoes the shape of the flowers. Goes quite a ways out, actually. And this would go more down like the chair. All about observing. Like I said, there aren't many people that can make up. If you got a lot of experience, maybe you can paint out of your head, but most people aren't that good at it. If I could say one thing to you, quit painting out of your head. I know people that do it, and it usually looks like that, I think. Okay, this shadow that runs from the seat, kind of like that. Like I said, it's kind of echoing the whole shape of the chair here. We're about 55 minutes in. That last video I did was about painting fast, if you saw it. It's a good practice, I think. You know, set your timer and try it. See, I'm leaving some of that pink poking through. That's my intention. I'm looking at this again, you know, where this corner is, it's kind of darker on this side. You know, in the end, will it feel like a corner? I don't know. But if it doesn't, that's okay. I can remember, which I say that and I forget always, I'll bring my mother-in-law's painting in at the end if I can get it off the wall and show you. I think I told you before, she was a very cool lady, but I have some of her sketchbooks. She took it very seriously, and she taught painting, and she worked very hard at it. She did plein air, which in her time, I don't know if a lot of people were doing it. I think I told you that story about figuring out she had painted right on the street where my husband grew up. She painted one of the neighbors' houses. They invited me in to see her painting, and I figured out where she was standing there. I thought that was pretty cool. Going a little brighter over in here. You know, change things up. It feels a little warmer over here. Backgrounds are challenging, and you know, you want them to be interesting too. You know, I doubt I'll leave that crazy shadow, but or I may just, you know, kind of blend it like I'm doing here. Mixing up more background color because I've run out, and you get more variation that way anyway. You know, it's going to change as you do that. Let's switch off and get the, I may walk over and turn the overhead light off for a moment to see. Now I'm just going to assume that that shadow, there's a shadow coming across here, which I think is coming from the overhead light, and there's a shadow running across. That would be from that bar right there. I'm pretty sure the one running from the front leg back would have to be and then there's one here, and that one runs up into there. But that one's probably, if you would agree, but I think that's coming from the overhead light. Okay, I think I'm going to put more yellow on this side because it looks that way to me. Like I said, you know, if you paint still lifes, the backgrounds are always tricky. Figuring out what to do with them, and like I said, Sarah Sedgwick, which I took one of her workshops and tried to paint like that for you, she looks down on her objects and she puts colored paper underneath them. So her background is there. Kind of different, I think. All right, let's look at this, what we want to do with that. See, I'm leaving some of that pink on the edge. And I could have a bigger brush here to cover more ground. That's a good suggestion for you if you're trying to loosen up. They always say go with a bigger brush. Just mixing up varieties of grays here. I'm lightening it up now for, let me check the plane of that baseboard again, make sure as I look out I've got that angle right. It's pretty steep. Visiting Savannah, you know, really get you thinking about slavery for sure. One place that we visited, there was so much still there from that time. They, in the basement was where the slaves cooked, and you know, they lived in the carriage house, and but they still had the fireplace in the basement where they cooked. They still had the like sinks where they did the laundry. I mean, really get to thinking how it must have been. You know, they didn't teach them to read and write, and okay, do we like that shadow? Runs up across there. Kind of cute. I'm feeling like that leg could come in though. I don't really want to repaint it, but I'm feeling like it's out too far. So I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to repaint it. You know, and I may want to come in and make some of these lines. you know, around sections of the legs, just to define the shape a little more. I probably will come in and add some more light. Okay, now the floor could be, you know, anything. It could be a rug, it could be hardwood. You know, in this case, it's just a tile floor. But I'd like it to be different, so I think into my mixture I'm going to add some transparent red oxide so it's warmer. Let me thin it down a little bit. When I'm painting outside and people come by, I'm always explaining to them about my tone because I'm quite sure that throws people. I explain that most of it's covered up, you know. One guy wanted to know yesterday, he'd saw me out before, wanted to know what I'm drawn to paint. You know, what inspires me, and I told him the old houses for one thing, plus if there's light on them, I really love that. Quite a while just to get the canvas covered, didn't it? I think we will take I've got a small little flat brush here, and I think we will go in and add some of this detail. And I could have very carefully done that with my tone, you know, if I'd I'm going to darken that edge up too. See, right there is a bit of the pink, which I'm going to leave alone. I did sadly lose a necklace in Savannah. I must have fallen off my neck and I didn't even feel it. It was one of those family necklaces with a tree, and I had my name, my daughter's name, and my grandson's name carved into the back. So yeah, I was sorry to lose that. I think I'd have felt it fall off. Only wore it one day, and that's the day I lost it, I guess. This is a shadow here. I'm not sure if I'm feeling that. See, I think I like that pink showing a lot, so I don't think I'm going to mess with that. You know, and there's chippy places in the chair. You have to decide how important all that little stuff is. There's cracks in the chair. Again, you know, you could fuss with this for many, many hours. Those are cracks. Whether or not I'll leave them, I don't know. I said there's chippy paint. I mean, you could just, again, go on and on and on. All right, so I think the last thing I'm going to do, at least for now, is kick up the flowers. Doesn't mean that I'm done, and I may work on the baseboard more and develop it more, but the flowers definitely, you know, have to be brighter and glow more. So we're going to lighten up that mixture that we had, and I think we'll put some orange in it. I visited the house, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. I don't know if you read that. I actually hadn't read it, and I checked the book out of the library. I'm going to read it now. But we visited that house, and because I hadn't read the book, probably, I wasn't as interested in the story as I was the house. I wanted to know about the house, and the guy was so into that guy. All he cared about was, you know, his antiques and the guy. But again, I hadn't read it. But that's probably why most people come, I imagine. That statue on the front of there used to be in the cemetery, and because of all the notoriety with the movie and the book, they moved it. We saw it in this museum now, in the art museum. My favorite thing was the old houses, though. I just love old buildings. So much history there. I'm sure you know this, but you know, during the Civil War, they saved Savannah by allowing them to come into their city and welcoming them so they wouldn't destroy it. Because General Lee, he slept in one of those houses we visited. They welcomed him in, and he actually became very good friends with him, supposedly, the guy that owned the home. But that's how they saved the city. They had burnt Atlanta to the ground. Imagine if that hadn't happened. And during the 60s, Savannah was a mess. It was slums during the 60s. And there were people that fought to save it and bring it back and make it what it is. Thank goodness. I gotta tell you, it's difficult for me to see. I don't know how it is for you, but the light's terrible. I'm used to a lot more light. So I'm going to have to work on these flowers. I've got to have better light than this. So we'll quit there. Like I said, I'm going to develop these, and I just have to get more light. I just can't really see. But let's put you in front. I'll move out of the way. There's a lamp, see, behind me. So not the best way to paint. We needed better light, but it's an 11 by 14. I think I mentioned that, but it's got a charm to it. I'm going to keep working on it. Keep developing it and work on the flowers. You never know till you get away from it. But there's things I do like. There's just always things I don't like, and I have to figure out what exactly that is. I see things already. All right, thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. And I'll try not to wait so long to do the next one. All right, have a wonderful evening.